Hi, I'm Rick Malthaner, and this is a Talk Tonic session here at Retail Now 2024. I'm here today with Colin Martin, General Manager of Vigilix, and a good friend of mine and a fellow South Carolinian. Colin, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Rick.
It's great to have you here. One of the topics I was thinking about was, as you know, I walk around the room and I talk to people here at Retail Now. This is actually year 20 for me. 2004 was my first year in the association, in the RSPA.
You joined the RSPA when you were 15?
Exactly.
That's
yeah.
incredible.
I was 15 and a half, right. Yeah. And so thank you for that. That's great. As I talk to people about the change that's happened in those 20 years, you know, a lot of it focuses on the last 5 to 7 years, maybe decade, where there's been a lot of consolidation in our industry, right? And so what that does in the channel is it affects everything, right? From merchant relationships up through the VAR, value-added reseller,
right,
up to, you know, partners like us and that kind of thing. So I figure we'll touch a little bit on what you've seen, line it up with what I've seen and how it affects everything.
The first things that sort of come to my mind in general are that we are in a technology industry. It's driven by technology and it is very active and growing. And so an acquisitive market, a market where acquisitions are happening, is a very healthy thing. Those kinds of transactions mean that it's good, right? However, where it doesn't feel good is that this market, this business, this industry, the point of sale space, this channel, if you will, is largely made up of companies that the grandfather started and passed on to the father, and the son is now, you know, the grandson is running it, or something like that, right?
Sure.
I mean, and so whether you're in Omaha or Atlanta or Boston or Syracuse, these are relationships that have been in existence for decades. And when those relationships come to an abrupt end because of an acquisition, it feels a little dirty. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
There's positives, but when it disrupts the ability of good service to be delivered, and when it disrupts decades-long relationships, to me, there's got to be a way to have a little bit of both.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, where a lot of this is personal relationships, and it's personal relationships not only from a vendor to a partner to a reseller partner, but then it's their relationships in their local market, right? And it's a two-way street. We heard about that a lot in this morning's sessions, where from a partnership standpoint, it has to be a two-way street. And I think you're right. When that two-way street comes to a dead end, you know, comes to a halt, it's a challenge. What I will say is, having been around here for a long time now, there have been a lot of times when somebody says, oh man, everything's changing in the market and it's killing us. It's going to kill us, right? And they say that in 2005. And then in 2010, they're still there. They've sold plenty of systems. They've had success. They're profitable, right? And then they say, oh no, look at this disruption, right? This disruption's going to kill us. And obviously the good partners and the good vendors, they say, listen, this looks like a challenge, but it's an opportunity.
Well, and when you understand the history of the point of sale market and industry, you understand that that's been happening for 70, 80 years.
Right.
That's like saying, I'm scared of my competition.
Right.
Well, if you're scared of competition, then maybe you're not good enough. Maybe you shouldn't be doing what you're doing. I mean, it's some of Vigilix's customers. We're a remote monitoring and management platform built specifically for point of sale. So we help your service and support teams as a VAR do things better. Take care of your customers better and more efficiently. That's what we do. But we have had some customers for 20 years. We've had more than I can count for 10 to 15.
That's an eternity in business.
That's an eternity. And the crazy thing is, look, if you're a profitable, well-run business, the possibility of acquisition could be in anybody's future. I don't have any plans for it, but it could happen. If it does, I hope that our customers will be cared for in such a way like I care for them, like my team cares for them.
A little empathy and emotional intelligence in those situations goes a
Well
long
said,
time.
Rick.
Yeah.
Well said. A little empathy and emotional intelligence goes a long way. People stay with you for a reason. And that reason is rarely because they're making an extra tenth of a point or something like that on the business that they transact with you. It's usually because I work with them because they're good people.
So, Colin, you touched on some history, and I'm gonna reveal myself as a history nerd right here.
I love it.
Probably to the worst degree in that, but it's relevant to retail now, and that is a while back I found the book A Better Day's Profit, and it was written by William S. Burroughs, the founder of the Burroughs Corporation, right? And Burroughs made one of the first mechanical adding machines, right? And that was the story. A Better Day's Profit goes back to like 1909 is when he wrote it. And I think it's in the public domain now. You just Google it up and you can grab a copy. And what's amazing is all of the information for the retailer that he put in there about accounting and process that works with the adding machine, it is 100% relevant today. It's exactly what it is today. And so I guess part of my Burroughs connection was that my father worked for Burroughs back in the 70s,
Nice.
late 70s, early 80s, looking for content, for a 4.5-hour flight out here. I got on YouTube and I was looking up documentaries and things like that. And I came across it's marketing and promotional material for Burroughs in the 1950s and 1960s. And some of these, when they started getting into like the auto tabulation machines and all of these things, it was right before electromechanical cash registers. And having been in and around the RSPA for 20 years and having served on the board and met a lot of the people who preceded me in this, they would talk of the days of Suida, when Suida was the first, real digital cash register. I'm probably misrepresenting that, but ultimately it was when we went from mechanical and electromechanical to actual computerized cash registers. And so where I'm going with that is, everybody kind of feels like, innovation, came along came computer technology in the 90s. And, now here we are, in 2024 with technology. And it really doesn't seem to have changed and evolved that much fundamentally from a processor standpoint, from how operating systems run and things like that. There's little tweaks, right? But it's not anything massively new. But I think when you look at what the technology is able to do now and what you're able to do from a software standpoint, that's the next 20 years, right? AI and things like that.
Right.
But just thinking back to how it went from mechanical to electromechanical to, computerized cash registers to where it is now, fundamentally from 1950 to 1999, there was far more change in that world than there has been in the last 25 years. Right. And so everybody kind of has this feeling that everything's constantly evolving, but it's nothing like what our predecessors dealt with. And along with that probably came business disruptions, probably came relationships, all of those things. So possibly not too different from what we're looking at with the acquisitions and the sort of landscape of where things are today.
Right. And it's I've heard you talk about Burroughs before. I love it that you love that. I mean, it's a fascinating story. And sort of the culturally, going back to what I was saying earlier, a good word for describing why acquisitions hurt sometimes is because it disrupts the culture of the customer relationship. A cultural example is like, my father's 78. And even him, having been around all that time, he goes, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. This is happening. And I'm like, really? Because I remember reading about something very similar happening in 1966 and in 1974 and in 1985. And come on.
Too much cable news?
maybe, I mean, I absolutely agree with you that huge leaps happened between 1950 and 2000. And then in half that time between 2000 and now, it's like technology is evolving. It's not evolving at a top line anymore.
Right. The iPhone 15 is not that much different or better than the iPhone.
Yeah, but at some point there's going to be some magic app that no one's thought of that we can't even consider that that's possible at this point, but something like that is going to happen. But that's 3 or 4 layers down.
Right.
Right.
Changes.
It's like the foundation of what technology is growing wider, but it's not really changing at the very top.
Yeah.
In terms of big steps at a high level. You've got to roll with it. You've got to roll with the changes in tech. You've got to roll with the changes in culture and in our environments, and not operate from a standpoint of fear, but from a standpoint of abundance. And maybe, Rick, that's one of the things that I love so much about this market is, generally speaking, it's an abundance mindset.
A little fear may creep in, but if you're positive and move forward, I think that is truly when we look around this room, right? The partnerships that are being developed, and that's it. At the end of the day, the good partnerships are going to win. We have a partner of ours, David Finette, FineTech, and his email signature, everything he talks about, it's always good guys win, right? And he's right. Ultimately, David is right. Good guys do indeed win, right? And our goal around here is to be the good guys. If you look around the room, the good guys booths keep getting bigger. Even some competitors, maybe a couple doors down. Love them. Good guys. The guys that we maybe think haven't done right by the channel or have been at the top level of those transactions, their booths are shrinking or they aren't even here, right? And I think that's the important takeaway, is that you look around the room at the people who are here year after year after year. They want a good partnership. They want that mentality of, I want to work with you and you want to work with me, and that's going to be better for the customer in the long run.
Going back a few years, 2020 and 2021 were weird for us.
A little disruptive. Right? I mean, at that time, 80% of Vigilix's software installations were in hospitality, were in restaurants. March of 2020 was very scary in terms of the unknown. Yeah.
Right? And that's actually where we started articulating partner over profit. Does that mean we aren't a profit-centric company? No, we are. Rest assured of that.
But we want to be around.
We want to be around. I want to continue to employ good people and support their families and let them do good work. That's what it's about. But we took a conscious hit in 2020 and 2021 for the sake of these long-term relationships. I'd like to think that pays off in the long run, that it pays dividends. But we weren't the only one, certainly in the RSPA, certainly not the only one in our market that had that mindset and took those steps.
Yeah, if we're going to move forward at the end of whatever this is, right, in March of 2020, we have to do the right thing and let the chips fall. I think that was there have been so many disruptors and disruptions to this market. But, everybody says the one thing that you fear will never happen, and the thing that is crazy and painful to everybody in the world, nobody could ever predict, right? And that's what that was all about.
But you know what? Some of the things that happened because of that is I sat back and said, as my responsibilities over running the business, I was like, well, oh boy, I don't think I want to be so hospitality centric anymore. So now Vigilix, after the last, almost 5 years later, Vigilix is now much more deep in the grocery market than in hospitality. And our business is healthier because of it. It's not that hospitality is bad. It's just we needed to diversify in a way that we were just sort of, it's just, whoever wants to work with us works with us. And it's just the way it shook out. And we didn't even realize that we weren't really focusing on things that left us exposed.
Thinking back to my reseller business back in call it 1998 to 2012, I naturally had this thing where we sold a retail product and we sold a hospitality product. And it was not a strategy of mine, but it worked out that when one side of the business was slow, the other side of the business was typically up.
Oh, absolutely.
And it got to the point where we could just focus on that, where, if we had pipelines going and for whatever reason, hospitality was dropping a little bit, over to the retail side, and here come a whole bunch of deals, and synergy. It's great.
Tell me about what you love about Tonic, because you and I have known each other for a very long time. I have been your friend through a few different business transitions, and you seem to be really happy here. So tell me about what makes Tonic a fulfilling place to work.
So time to talk Tonic.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
I've seen a lot and I've been around a lot.
Yeah.
And for me, it was a case of rather than evaluating just technology, just product, just this, that, or the other thing, for me, it was I want to understand leadership. You know, culture is an interesting thing. It's very hard to have a great business culture. And in some cases, the more you try to put into culture and force culture, it doesn't happen and it goes the opposite way. The interesting thing here was having sat down exactly a year ago when Tonic first came onto the market. Two companies were put together.
Right.
Ordix was bought and was rebranded as Tonic, and we now have a huge development effort against this. It's great. But all of that aside, leadership, right? Tyler and Gary and Tyler, however order you want to put them, both phenomenal human beings. I used the term emotional intelligence earlier. I've heard a saying a bunch of times, and that is, you know, your happiest customer will never be happier than your happiest employee, right? And I think you could take that one down through the partner channel, that your happiest partner will never be happier than your happiest employee.
I love that.
And that was what I saw. I saw this vision of this is what we are. You know, we're laying it out on the table. We are human. We want humans to be part of this business. We want it to be a good culture fit. We want it to be a good fit for the job, the right seat. You know, we're an EOS shop. And so all of that spoke to me because I had kind of been looking for those kind of features in a business, really. And that was what sold me on the let's have a conversation about what we're doing with the product and where we're going with the product. You know, fundamentally, we are a partner-only company. We're not selling direct. So there's no challenges of, you know, we're out there trying to sell your product and you're selling against us, right? And that's been very commonplace in the market. And as companies who have reseller channels start to look to go public, right? Or sell, going public, what's the first thing they need to do? They need to be more profitable. What's the fastest way to be more profitable? Hello, Mr. Reseller. You know, your revenue share is now 63% of what it was. Have a good day, right? And that's not in any way, you know, there's no emotional intelligence in that. It's all a business decision. So at the top level, you know, that was what it was about. Great leadership, great people, people driven toward a common vision of what we're doing, you know, with Tonic. Being able to go to the market and give partners, I have a long-standing relationship with a lot of reseller partners. Come have a discussion. Come get to know Gary. Come get to know Tyler. Learn about our product. Talk to Tony Masaccia. He's leading our product side of things. Talk to Chris Venza, head of product and marketing. These are all people that'll sit down with you and explain what we're doing and why it's good for a partner to be involved in that. It's all going on right behind this wall here at Retail Now.
Exactly. You just described a very healthy culture and what makes it a healthy culture.
Well, Colin, it's absolutely my pleasure to have you join me here today. Long-standing friendship.
Yeah, buddy.
I look forward to continuing for the next 20 years with you here in the RSPA.
Same here.
Thank you.
Same here.